Have you ever felt out of place, or like you don't exactly fit in? Maybe you felt like you're lacking something, whether it's a sense of uniqueness or a sense of self. Have you ever wondered what the magic key is to fitting in or making connections with other people? Me too. And while I haven't found the exact answer, I've definitely found some meaningful pieces of wisdom. Hello, my name is Whittaker, and I'll be talking about voices of identity and the power of language and culture in constructing belonging. To be able to make genuine connections with others, first, you have to find yourself. Discovering and learning about your culture and the virtues that make you, you, is how you find your sense of self. You need to know who you are to be able to present yourself as that to another person, so they can get to know the real you. In the past, I struggled with finding myself and who I was, mostly because the cultural aspect wasn't as prevalent. I didn't have as many tools tying me to my African American culture as others have had. Growing up, I didn't have many black friends, and I didn't really hang around anybody else who was black except for my family. Because of this, it was hard to determine who I was, what I acted like, and what I believed in. It was easier to just conform to others' ideas and thoughts, as it is with most children and teens. I also still feel lesser than some of my friends, because they are bilingual. While one of my passions is language, I'm not fluent in anything besides English. Not yet, anyway. They were succeeding in the thing I was striving for without caring about it or realizing it. But I'm more than what I accomplish or don't. Your sense of self can't just come from your accomplishments or how well you enact your passions. Your sense of self comes from who you are, what uniquely divides you from everyone else. Not something arbitrary, but something irreplaceable. However, discovering yourself builds your confidence and certainty in yourself. It also attracts like-minded people, allowing for deeper connections. Presenting yourself and leading with your values, confidence, religion, diction, and true self prevents forming dispensable arbitrary relationships. Culture and language play a vital and cardinal role in creating relationships and building connections. One of my friends invited me and my family to her house for lunch. Her family recently moved to North Carolina from Shanghai about a year ago. Before we left to go to her house, I told my family not to eat anything and also lectured them on proper etiquette, like eating enormous helpings to show appreciation for the food, or bowing to show respect. As predicted, we ate a profusion of food, which was delicious by the way, and enjoyed good company. Although I knew a fair amount about Chinese culture, it was fascinating and intriguing to taste the culture and see and hear the culture and language. Some of the food that I ate, I had barely heard of, let alone tried before. It was also captivating to see the translations go back and forth, the understanding of English and relaying the message in Chinese, and relaying the response. It was an enriching experience, but I don't know how well my family would have managed if I hadn't already had that underlying information regarding their culture, which I obtained from classes, personal studies, and my relationships. Knowing about their culture and customs allows me to build a rapport without ever opening my mouth. They saw that I appreciated their culture and beliefs enough to respect them and demonstrate them, whether it was using chopsticks, slightly bowing, or demonstrating my less than native Chinese skills. On the other hand, I know a fair amount about Korean culture, which connected my friend's mom and I. Even though she's not fluent in English, we were able to have a conversation based on our knowledge about a third culture, and based on my knowledge about her culture. Nelson Mandela, an anti-apartheid activist, politician, and first president of Africa once said, "If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to your head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart." Language and culture tie people together. Now, I love to learn about other languages and cultures. Currently, I am learning Spanish and Korean, but whenever I can, I like to pick up words or phrases from other languages. I have many bilingual friends, and I'm constantly pestering them to teach me parts of their language. At this point, I probably know one word in at least 15 languages and conversational phrases in several. Having a broad, albeit basic knowledge of someone's language and culture helps form connections. It's a lot easier to connect with somebody when they don't have to explain where they're coming from when they're speaking. Your brain processes information and thoughts and situations differently based on your cemented and deep-rooted biases and thoughts. For example, what if somebody fell down and broke their wrist a couple of years ago, and today they fell down in the same position? It reminded them of their injury and all the emotions that came with it. They're on the ground, frozen, crying, in shock, what have you, and if you didn't know about their past, then you wouldn't know about the pain that we surged. You would look at them like they're dramatic or crazy. But if you were informed enough and cared enough to know about their past traumatic incident, then your reaction wouldn't be the same. You would know where they're coming from. You would know the pain that resurged, and you'd be empathetic, hopefully. It's the same with culture and with cultural trauma. If you aren't informed enough to know about somebody's culture, then you won't understand them. Our culture is one of the fundamental things that shapes our perceptions. Constructing relationships and belonging is centered around this. If you are feeling upset or happy about something that stems from a cultural standpoint, like elections, protests, holidays, or family gatherings, and even more, wouldn't you rather not have to explain where that pain or joy comes from? And even more so, to not be met with resistance when doing so. Of course, you can't know everything about where someone is coming from because you aren't them and you haven't lived their life. But if someone tries to explain the deep-rooted hardships that have caused this kind of anguish, or the ecstatic events that have caused this kind of joy, and you brush it off, or you say it's unfounded, or any other disheartening or dismissive term, what's it doing? It's not expressing your opinion, it's stifling others' voices. Just because you don't believe in what someone else is doing doesn't mean you shouldn't respect them. Just because you don't believe in what someone is thinking doesn't mean you can't support others. Even if you don't like certain aspects of someone's culture, doesn't mean you can't respect the culture. I've had many opportunities to explore and learn about Latin American culture, as well as get hands-on experience with the Spanish language. I've had the opportunity to spend 2 weeks in Spain during freshman year. Traveling throughout Andalusia was an unforgettable and eye-opening experience. Whether it was the beautiful beaches, flamenco dancers, castles, and cathedrals, or my host mom refused to let me speak with the help of a translator, even when it was clearly needed. Other opportunities that were presented to me came more organically. I've had the chance to speak to somewhat random people in Spanish. That is, when I mustered up enough courage to do so. One time, when I volunteered at an organization, we were asked to help paint the walls. When it was time to complete this task, we were instructed to ask the other workers how to do it. It turns out that these workers were Brazilian and spoke Portuguese. The majority of them only spoke Portuguese and didn't speak any English. When it came time to ask the worker for help, it turns out there was only one worker in the building, and he spoke Spanish and Portuguese. I was able to step in and communicate with him in Spanish and get the information that I needed. It was a very exciting and encouraging moment for me to be able to translate and communicate across multiple languages. It was also very interesting to see and hear the workers speak Portuguese. Between the English, Spanish, and Portuguese flying around everywhere, it was like a trilingual convention. The most recent language encounter that I've had was at a yard sale that my family had, where a Spanish-speaking family was browsing. The family consisted of 2 sisters and a daughter. I wanted to speak to them in Spanish, but I didn't know how to approach the situation. Eventually, I just spoke and told them that the majority of items in the table in front of them were for little kids. After that moment, they only spoke to me in Spanish. We had many conversations about the items we had, my education in Spanish, and a lot more. They even complimented me on my Spanish, and we joked around. Everyone had a good time, and we were all really comfortable, except for my dad, of course, who didn't know any Spanish. I felt a sense of accomplishment, and I was ecstatic. It was also freeing to be able to speak in Spanish without being graded on it or scrutinized on every word. Now, in Korean, there are various stages of honorifics, which is a telltale to their culture. And if you understand that, it can help you understand the immense respect that they have for their elders. You can make connections with people from other cultures if you understand their values. Because I'm learning Korean and know people from Japan, China, and other Asian countries, it helps me to understand the enormity of the amount of respect that's given to superiors and elders. It also helps me to be able to know, understand, and respect others' values, ways of life, and culture. Spending time with people from Asian countries allows me to understand the respect given to superiors, and it also allows me to respect other people's ways of life. It's very important to be able to put yourself in a position where you know, value, and respect others' journeys and ways of life. I have friends who are from various backgrounds, countries, and ethnicities. For example, I have friends who are African American, Hispanic, German, Romanian, Chinese, and Bangladeshi. We all think differently, act differently, talk differently, and process differently. Yet we all respect each other's culture and each other's values. Culture and language are imperative to knowing who you are and recognizing your self-worth, as well as respecting others, forming connections, building relationships, and constructing belonging. They help us to understand others' beliefs and values, as well as help us to appreciate them. Language and culture create a society of not only tolerance, but pursuing true knowledge about someone's identity, be it their culture, beliefs, values, history, or faith. I encourage all of you to broaden your perspectives and learn about another culture. Not only will it create empathy, but an understanding and allow you to connect with others. You will become more knowledgeable and compassionate. Thank you all for your time.